Hi everyone, welcome back to Christine's Zabo Raw. Today I'm filming from a hotel in Cannes because the new house that we moved into doesn't have hot water well, it hasn't had hot water for a week, but I was traveling in New York and then I got back and I was like, I really need to take a hot shower and a hot bath. I'm a bath girl, so a hot bath. So I came to a hotel for a few nights until the repairmen come on Monday. And that's like a lesson in life. You can't get down by challenges. You gotta just go with the flow and find the positives in it. So I came to a hotel. I'm here having a moment to film with you, and I feel grateful for that. But I want to talk to you about something that's deeply human, deeply misunderstood, and deeply connected to childhood trauma. Something that robbed me of my best life for decades until I began to put the pieces of my childhood emotional abandoned puzzle together. When I began to heal my brain, heal my inner child, and realize that staying stuck in what I felt most comfortable with, which was my addictions, was actually making me the most uncomfortable thing that I could do for myself. Guru Singh always said that he had this phrase that he would say in class, that people choose to live in the discomfort of what they know instead of stepping into the comforts of the unknown. Something like that. I think you get my drift. So here we go. Let's dive into this painful subject, addictions of escape. The quiet addictions, the invisible ones, the ones we judge in others, and mostly the ones that we hide in ourselves, the ones we deny. Things like alcohol, binge eating, oversleeping, believe it or not, compulsive TV, movie watching, scrolling endlessly, disappearing into your iPhone, or losing yourself in work, perfection, even caretaking. Different behaviors, but the same wound. And I want to tell you this with absolute tenderness in my heart. Every addiction is a survival strategy created by a child who didn't feel emotionally safe, who didn't get the love that they needed. Here is the core truth. People don't escape a life that they love. They escape a life that touches their childhood wounds. This is why relationships trigger us. What this means, by example, is that for many years, I loved my life when I struggled from addiction. For so many years, I really did have a beautiful life, but I still struggled with binging. Why? You see, if you grow up without emotional attunement, if you didn't have a parent who soothed you, like I didn't when my dad was alive, and my parents would have conflict, and I'd be in my bedroom and I'd hear my mom crying and my dad screaming. And then after my dad's suicide when I was 10, and my mother wasn't emotionally available to me like I needed her to be, and my brother who had pretty much raised me, he had already left for college. So I found myself feeling very alone at home. And then I started traveling at a very young age, and it was during those travels that the binging started, and I brought that back home, and And because I had these feelings that were too big for my little body. And I had to create coping mechanisms. That's what we do. Addiction is a coping mechanism. It's a coping system. As adults, we look at these coping systems and we can label them like, oh, that's just a bad habit, or oh, weakness, or oh, I just don't have enough willpower. But the truth is much more raw. Hence Christine Szabo Raw. These patterns are the inner child saying, I don't know how to exist with my feelings because no one ever showed me how. That's honest. I know that this can bring up a lot in some of you. It's hard to think about this and deal with this, but just stay with me. I want to talk about what these categories of trauma-driven addictions look like. There are two major forms of survival addictions, okay? Number one, addictions of numbing, or we can say relief seeking. These are the ones that are meant to shut down overwhelming emotions. So let's list what these could look like. Some are obvious, some are not. Like I said, alcohol, binge eating, oversleeping, TV binging, scrolling, excess porn, anything that makes you disappear. These are the just make it stop addictions. Type 2, addictions of avoidance, distraction seeking, okay? This is when we want to turn away. These ones are meant to avoid feeling like working constantly, or obsessive cleaning, staying busy, unable to sit still, even over caretaking, people pleasing, diving into perfectionism, staying productive to outrun our emptiness. These are the don't let it catch me addictions. So you have two different languages and one identical root. Emotional abandonment. And suicide, parental suicide, as we know, is exactly that. So you understand why I'm here today. I want to explain very clearly that I struggled from some of these addictions for decades, from my early teenage years until my late 30s. That's a huge part of my life because next month I'm 52, but I did break free. And I can honestly say I don't have these addictions anymore. And that's why I am here to give back to you how I did that. Let me get very clear here. Addiction is not the opposite of sobriety. Most people think the opposite of addiction is sobriety, but it's not. The opposite of addiction is connection. Real connection. Connection to oneself, connection to the other, to your body, your nervous system, to the truth. Addiction is a nervous system that was never taught how to healthily soothe itself. Addiction is an attachment system that never learned safety. Addiction is the adult body protecting a wounded child. Eating disorders are one of the hardest addictions to break. Why? Because it's not like alcohol or drug abuse that you can just simply avoid. We have to eat every day. We have to face food to survive. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, it's everywhere. And that's tricky. But it's also what I consider to be my greatest blessing. Because I was able to completely break free of my eating disorders, to face food in a healthy way. Because I learned to heal my inner child. I learned to heal my PTSD, to have healthy neurofunctioning, to break free of depression, anxiety, and to love myself and accept myself with all my imperfections, my struggles, even my mistakes. And I want that same peace and health for you. Because I believe that if you're here, something greater than you brought you here. You're meant to hear this. And sorry, because I really care about you. And I know how crippling the pain is, and how crippling addiction is, and how scary it is to think that you may have a problem and you may need this to break free. So look, let me get back to the science of childhood trauma. Let's get real, or more simply, when a child isn't emotionally attuned to, isn't given the love and support he or she needs, the brain rewires itself. Okay? Chronic emotional abandonment creates chronic stress activation. The nervous system becomes a survival mechanism. It becomes like a machine to survive. This is why adults who grew up emotionally alone often can't regulate their emotions, especially when they're triggered or when they feel overwhelmed by intimacy. They can want to shut down, lash out, escape into screens, food, alcohol, sleep. They want to just simply avoid vulnerability at all costs. And we have to see this isn't a personality flaw. It's a physiological adaptation. Because in our brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that controls impulse, judgment, and decision-making, shuts down. It shuts down under emotional threat. So when the inner child is triggered, the adult loses access to rational control. The adult goes back to what feels safe. That's why when just to tell somebody or to tell yourself, oh, I'm just going to stop drinking or stop binging, or why can't you just get off your phone? This will never work, because you're talking to an adult, you're talking to your adult self, but it's the child that's in charge, and it's the inner child that needs to heal. Awareness of this is step one. So what is a child's private logic? What is logical to the child? Well, when we're young, we create these little rules to survive, like, well, my feelings don't matter, or it's safer to disappear than to be seen, or love means abandonment, or love means pain, love means danger, or my needs are too much, or if I don't feel, I can't be hurt. these rules become adult behaviors. As I listed before, we've, the binging, the drinking, the shutting down, oversleeping, scrolling, avoiding, staying super busy. You're just refusing emotional closeness. You don't want to communicate. You don't want to connect. Addiction is a child survival strategy that never got updated. It never matured. And here's a really curious question. How do men and women adapt differently? What is that the old book was, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? This part is important because we can often misunderstand each other. Women tend to escape through things like food, binging like me. How about excess spending, shopping, caretaking, emotional overextension, even getting to the point of exhaustion, collapsing into shame, seeking emotional connection that we were denied. While men, on the other hand, they tend to escape through alcohol, oversleeping, TV, screens, emotional shutdown, irritability, rage, disassociation. Same wound, different culturally acceptable doorways. When we understand this, we can start to reduce blame and increase compassion. That's why compassion is so important when it comes to facing the other and when it comes to facing our own self. Because you simply cannot fix an addict, right? It's not like I'm just gonna fix myself. No, and we cannot love somebody into sobriety. We cannot love someone whose nervous system won't let you in. You cannot rescue the inner child of a partner who has locked the door from the inside. And what about our own selves when we lock our own door? You didn't cause their addiction, and they didn't cause your addiction, and you cannot cure it. You most importantly cannot carry it. Real healing begins only when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. I'm going to repeat that because it's really, really, really important that you hear this. Healing will only begin when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. I remember when that moment was for me, like it was yesterday, when that realization that I had no other choice than to change. Real recovery begins with self-compassion. And there are 3 steps, okay? Step 1, self-awareness. All change starts with honesty. For some people, they're so wounded that they simply cannot expose themselves to the truth. And this was me for very many years. I didn't want to look at myself. I wanted to point the fingers, blame. I even rewrote the narrative in my head to serve the story I wanted to tell myself. That's why you have to really wake up to what's happening around you. Like, you have to listen to what the people who love you are telling you. What are they telling you? What are you ignoring? What are you avoiding? Are your addictions following you around in your life? Even when the circumstances that you're pointing blame to aren't there? It's a hard, painful question to ask oneself. Hideously hard, horribly hard, but so rewarding when you get to the other side. When you say to yourself, I'm not weak, I'm just wounded. The second way, find safety. Learn to regulate your nervous system. Learning to master your nervous system and to recognize and know your state when you're in it is like finding gold. It's like a treasure. It's like the moment that you can say, oh my gosh, I'm activated. I'm being triggered. My red button is being pushed. I'm going into flight or flight. I'm freezed. Am I safe? For me, it was, I could feel heat rising from literally my feet, through my legs, through my torso, to the top of my head. It was like lava was flowing through my body. And that's how I started to recognize that I was triggered. And I could realize that I was having an emotional dysfunction, okay? I call it like emotional deregulation. I don't know if that's the right word, but emotional dysfunction. And I could start to use the tools that I was learning in cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy, and things like deep breathing, breath work that would calm my body. So 4 counts in, 6 counts out. You want a long inhale and an extra long exhale. That will slow your nervous system down. It's called a physiological sigh, okay? 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Another thing you can do if you realize you're triggered is just catch your brain and go into, okay, what are 5 things I can see right now? The building, the window, the trees, the ocean, the curtains. 4 things that I can hear, the cars, the breath, the this, the that. 3 things that I can touch, my dog, my chair, my sweater. Bring yourself back to reality, okay? Tell yourself, what I'm feeling isn't real. It's just my inner child screaming and coping, okay? You become aware that this is not real. You can put a hand on the heart, a hand on the belly, breathe. One of my favorite tricks that I used to use, I don't need it anymore, but rinse cold water under your wrists. Jump in a cold shower, jump in the pool, take a walk on the beach and let the cold water touch your feet. Cold water will slow down your nervous system. It'll take you out of that state, and you can use it like a quick fix, okay? Excuse yourself to the bathroom and rinse your hands under the cold water faucet. If you have to, if you're a man and you don't have makeup on, splash your face with it, pat yourself down. And these will bring you back from the overwhelm into, I am safe, and we can start to become calm. And once we start learning these tools, we can start to actually prevent these triggers from happening. How do we prevent triggers from happening? Well, we prevent them by getting a grip on them and knowing that they're there, understanding that our abandoned child exists, and we can start to do daily practices that will give us a mastery over self-regulation. And these are things like, let's practice deep breathing for 3 minutes a day. Let's practice listening to a meditation, a mindfulness exercise. Joe Dispenza, I talk about a lot, or Abraham Hicks. Things that we didn't learn in childhood and things that we can learn as adults. Keep our diets very clean, keep our sleep habits healthy, take the right brain supplements, surround ourselves by the right environment, the right people. And remember, the most important thing, that we want to connect. We want to connect to first to ourselves in all the healthiest ways, then to the other, not just animals, but to other people, the good people, the right people. I just spoke on a TEDx stage about this last month in Gary, Indiana, and I spoke about connection and suicide trauma recovery, suicide prevention. But let me leave you with this. If you're struggling from addiction, whether it's drinking, alcohol, oversleeping, disappearing into your screens, simply avoiding your own life, or avoiding the one that loves you most, avoiding the people who love you most, it's not because you're broken, and it's not because you don't love them. It's because a long time ago, the pain was too big for you, and your body protected itself in the only way that it knew how to. You were a child and you survived. But you're not a child anymore. And together, I can help you learn how to enjoy connection, how to enjoy your life again. And thank yourself for being so brave and honest to want to take that look inward and take a very compassionate step forward for yourself, for the ones who love you, and, honesty, self-love, commitment, connection. These are the greatest things that we have. And when you start to highlight them, you will free yourself. And I am so proud and grateful that you are here and that I could be here to share this with you, because I truly believe that together we will make a difference. So I hope this little chat on addiction helped open up a light for you. And I'm going to give you a little warning about the next episode while I'm here, because I was in LA and I'm taking you into a colonic session with me, because as you know, I really, really feel that colonic therapy is about deep cleansing and healing, not just on a physical level, but on an emotional level. So as we talk about addiction, I think it's really important that the next great step in the next episode is talking about how we can release the addictions that have been stored with us for so long, especially if a lot of us have struggled from binge eating. We can carry a lot of that toxins or alcoholism or drug abuse. And even emotional trauma is released with colonics. So, warning, if you have a queasy stomach, don't watch that episode while you're eating. I'm going to take you in there. After all, this is Christine Szabo Ross. So anyway, I love you guys, and I'm really grateful to be here. I think about you every day, and I hope each and every one of you are well. And sending you a big hug. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and let me know you're doing good. I love to hear it. See ya.